like to thank all of you already now to reserve the time for this webinar, where we're going to introduce the new ESBR, the so-called 5300. So I would say just get started. The 5300, our new ESBR, so most of you, I would say, are already familiar with our ESBR product, so the so-called 5480, for instance. So what we have done in the recent past is we've developed a new ESBR, which is running our new operating system, so-called Trinity operating system, and the new product we're going to give you some more details on during the next couple of minutes is the SmartNode 5300. So the 5300, where it's going to be used, what the USPs are of this product, and what kind of features are coming along with that 5300, we're going to show you within the next couple of slides. So the ESBR products, the enterprise session border routers, are more and more being used in voice over IP network deployments. So the world is more and more moving to full SIP applications, to complete voice over IP networks. So TDM is going down in terms of numbers. So that's where the ESBR session border routers comes into play. There are different kind of applications, features where the ESBR will be used, will fulfill a lot of things, and a lot of challenges can be addressed with that product. So for SIP trunking solutions, as you can see here, for interop things, QoS, and many more things. With the 5300, we were able to we were able to do a product which is pretty price competitive compared to other units in the market, especially when we are talking on the low end, speaking from like 4 up to 20 simultaneous SIP sessions to be handled on that unit. We have a really good price on that unit. Good. Moving on and giving a closer look to the hardware of the 5300, as you can see here illustrated, it comes with a 4 Ethernet ports on that unit. So the 4 Ethernet ports can be independently configured, so that means it's up to you how do you want to use them. If you want to use 1 port for WAN connectivity and the remaining 3 ports for LAN connectivity, or in a different layout, it all can be configured on the unit itself. Along with that flexibility, we also offer Ethernet switching as well as bridging on the higher layer, along with VLAN support. So just to give you a few items here what this unit can do. Furthermore, we are having a USB port that's pretty new in terms of the hardware on the Patton product portfolio. So the USB port isn't in use right now, but we are working on getting the software done so that at the later stage for survivability applications, a 3G, 4G modem can be connected to for covering network outages on the SIP trunk side. Then, not visible on this picture, but there are SKUs available already right now with EFM port support. So there we have 2 options, either a 2-pair or a 4-pair G.SHDSL line termination on that unit. So there is no need anymore to have an external modem where EFM line is being provided from the carrier side. So these some items on the hardware side of this 5300. Moving on to an example application where the SmartNode ESBR can be used. So giving a look at the provider's network on the right-hand side, you can see all the most important elements of a provider networks, a soft switch application server, the carrier gateway, for instance, but you can also see that all the providers, they do have a core SBC. So the core SBC makes sure that the provider's voice over IP network is being protected from the outside world. But looking at the left-hand side on the customer premise side, there usually a lot of voice over IP equipment is already existing, an IP-PBX for instance, whereas the IP-PBX in many cases is directly connected to the public network, which gives also, of course, some problems in terms of SIP attacks from the outside world. So that's one key thing where the 5300 can or should be used in order to protect the IP-PBX on the customer premise network. Also, as you can see here, the 5300 is representing a voice service demarcation point. That means from a carrier point of view, the SmartNode is the one and only device the carrier equipment is talking to. So in other words, talking about interoperability, it makes it a lot more easier for a carrier to deploy SIP trunk lines. That means there is no need to adjust the core SBC, which is in most of the cases a big and complex unit. So there's no need to have for each SIP trunk line a different VoIP profile, which makes sure that the interop is given from the carrier network to the customer premise equipment. So with the 5300, this challenge or this problem is going away, where from a carrier point of view, just one unit the core network has to talk to. Then the fine-tuning in terms of protocol interop is going to be done on the customer premise side, on the 5300 itself, where with different settings, it's going to be ensured that the VoIP communication is working fine. So this to give you an overview in which kind of application the 5300 will perfectly fit in order to address all these things I just mentioned. Of course, there are other things where the 5300 will do its job. For instance, quality of service. So if it's going to be used as a customer premise edge router, the 5300 will make sure that the voice over IP quality is as good as it should be, so that if data is going to be sent across the access link, that this is not disturbing the voice over IP stream. Good. As I just mentioned, a few challenges before, so here a quick overview of things we see together with our customers, together with you actually, things which are coming up during voice over IP network deployments. So as I mentioned before, protocol interop. So many devices, many equipments, they are able to communicate in SIP, but SIP is not equal to SIP. So there are different SIP flavors, different SIP headers, and not all of them are interoperable with other equipment. So that's where the 5300 will do its job. So also, as mentioned before, so fine-tuning in terms of SIP headers can be done on the 5300. So the 5300 will make sure with its settings that there is no interop issue between the IP-PBX on the customer premise and the core network from the VoIP carrier. Network interop, so many of you may also face issues when firewalls are doing or trying to do this job on the customer premise, protecting the customer's network from the outside world. But usually firewalls, they have SIP ALGs to control and manage the VoIP traffic. But we've seen that in many cases also issues are coming up there because the firewall is not always managing that in a correct way in terms of RTP port changes and so on, which results in quite often in one-way voice audio. So that's where the 5300 comes into play. It terminates the SIP signaling traffic, which means that the 5300 is fully aware of the SIP protocol, which is different, where the firewall is just passing through the packets. Furthermore, security, a big element and more a thing which has to be considered with all the SIP attacks coming from public networks. So the 5300 is protecting the customer premise network on that side. Quality, as I mentioned, and availability, so that all more or less comes together. So with the 5300 we can ensure a good experience, a good quality to the end customer when doing telephone calls. Then I would like to come to the point in terms of management. So one new thing we're about to release in terms of software is a special kind of configuration management on our Trinity voice over IP devices. So we are introducing a two configuration domain aspect. So that means it's going to be possible to have a config split up into a core and into a customer domain thing. So that's something I'll give you some more details on in the coming slides. How these challenges can be addressed. So as most of you know, the feature set from our product line. So call control, that's still the same, or let's say even better with our routing policy mechanisms we have on Trinity, and as well on the 5300, of course. SIP inbound and outbound registration, that's also there. Quality management, bandwidth management using the traffic scheduler and the policy-based routing on that unit. And furthermore, QoS, an important thing, so that also goes along with the quality management. Then, as mentioned, separated config domain. So that's a really nice thing I would like to show you later on. So where independently on the same unit, the two sides of the networks can be represented in giving access rights to the ITSP, the service provider for voice over IP telephony, and the customer or the administrator of the customer's LAN network. Survivability, so using the built-in call routing functionalities and hunt groups on our units, and of course also on the 5300. So we have the possibility to use alternative routes in case a SIP trunk is going down, and of course the SIP registrar, where an outage of the SIP trunk is there, that still internally phone calls can be made still. WAN connectivity, we have two variants of EFM ports on the 5300, so a 2-pair or a 4-pair EFM termination port, and of course VLAN support, PPP, that's all there. In terms of security, with Trinity, we introduced the SIP TLS support, so for a secured SIP signaling functionality, more and more being used as we see based on customer feedbacks we were getting. Furthermore, one of the latest features we just introduced, where we're going to publish a new release for Trinity in the coming days, it's the HTTPS provisioning, so a secured provisioning. That means the SmartNode, once it's plugged in, it is able to do, using the built-in root certificates, it's able to do a secured provisioning using the HTTPS protocol. And of course, application level gateway against fraud protection from attacks coming from public networks. Last but not least, interoperability. As I also mentioned earlier, this is something helping for deployments on the, using the 5300, so there's no need to adjust settings on the core network side, while the core network will just talk with one unit, the 5300, and the small tweaks and adjustments are going to be done directly on the customer's network side. Good. Some more of the ESBR key features. topology hiding. That's basically the right word to explain on what the 5300 can do as well. So again, the 5300 is representing a demarcation point in terms of VoIP traffic at this stage, so illustrated here. So it's dividing the two networks, the SIP LAN side and the public side, going to the ITSP. So this is for interoperability, for security purposes, as well as for QoS, where the 5300 will make sure that all these aspects are being covered. Another application or possible application together with Microsoft Lync. So as the 5300 is not yet certified for Microsoft Lync, but we're working on it, of course. But based on all the tests we have done internally, we can say it's working fine in terms of the technical implementation. So if there's a need to connect VoIP equipment which is only able to do SIP UDP signaling, the 5300 can do the conversion from SIP UDP to SIP TLS against a Microsoft Lync environment. That's one further key element of the 5300 it can do. So as you can see here, the conversion from SIP UDP to SIP TLS or from SIP UDP to SIP TCP signaling, where this device is doing the protocol conversion. Good. Then to the separate config domain. So one of the features our engineers are currently working on. So this is going to be available in the June release, beginning of June this year. But anyway, I would like to give you some more details on how this is working. Again, the same application here with the 5300 as a demarcation point between the two networks, the private LAN network and the public SIP domain. So what is happening here? So we have an ITSP, which is also having, of course, a provisioning server. So for a device rollout, it is preparing the config which should run on the 5300 on its provisioning server. This config part basically is covering all the settings between the 5300 and the ITSP core system. So as you can see here, the configuration has to be looked at in terms of a split-up configuration, so a core side-facing configuration having all the relevant configuration options in it. And on the left-hand side, we have the administrator from the customer side, which is managing the configuration part facing the IPPBX on the customer premise. So in that way, we can provide a split configuration where on the left-hand side, just the administrator have access to all the settings relevant to the IPPBX on the customer premise, and the ITSP deploying the 5300 only has control over the settings facing towards the core network at this stage. So a pretty nice and unique feature. So stay tuned for this. It's going to be available in June. And along with that, we are also going to have a wizard configuration. So that means it makes it again more easier for deployments and configurations. So using the wizard, it's going to be a web wizard the administrator can use. So that means it's going to be a simplified mask with different fields. The administrator can put values on for SIP registration, for instance, for the IPPBX, so in order to do the installation much more quicker again. Good. Then in overall, Trinity, our latest or new operating system, the 5300 is exclusively running Trinity. So it's the only operating system it's able to run. But with that new operating system, we have the latest features included. So the secure provisioning using HTTPS, one thing, then the separate config domain, the thing I just showed you before. SIP TLS for security purposes, using a secured SIP signaling. Stateful firewall is included, so a application-aware firewall we have as well on Trinity. TACAX Plus for AAA purposes is built in. Then we have, for all of you knowing smartware pretty well, so there we had a pretty strong IP routing engine. So on Trinity this has been enhanced again and improved, so there we have much more functionalities, much more features in terms of policy-based routing. Then Ethernet switching and bridging, especially on the 5300 with the 4 Ethernet ports. We have different options for switching and bridging, and of course the QoS management. On the right-hand side, I just took a screenshot of the configuration wizard. So this is just to give you an example on how this wizard is going to look like. So here it's, as an example, a really simple wizard, which is for an HTTPS provisioning, where for the digest authentication for the TLS connection, username, password, and realm can be put in. So talking about the wizard, it's going to be a really nice thing where customers, where you actually can develop your own wizard, which is going to be displayed to the end customer doing configurations. So that's all configurable using an XML file, which is possible to be loaded into the device, where you have full control of which fields you would like the installer to be able to configure. So more details on that as we go. In June it's going to be available on our website, or if there are any questions, just send us an email. We can give you some more details on that. Good. To go back to the ESBR product line, again, to give you an overview of what kind of units we have in terms of the ESBR products. So new, the 5300. In terms of performance, as you can see, it's possible to handle up to 256 simultaneous calls. You can also see that transcoding isn't possible on that device, so in order to do transcoding, you'll have to refer to the existing models, the 5480 and the 5490. But on the 5300 we have 4 Ethernet ports and also WAN access in terms of G.SHSL connectivity. And 5480, 5490, they remain the same, so running smartware, but they're also upgradable to Trinity. So as well there you can find on our website Trinity software releases with the latest features, for instance SIP TLS, SRTP, so this is all as well available on the 5480 and 90. Good. Again, 5300, so to give you an idea on how the SKUs are looking like, so we have just 3 new SKUs for this product. So the basic SKU is 5300/4B. That means the base model is capable to do 4 simultaneous end-to-end SIP calls, which is possible to be upgraded with SIP sessions up to a total of 256, as I mentioned before. And the same scheme applies to the below SKUs, the 4B 2G as well as the 4B 4G, so they support the same capacity in terms of SIP to SIP calls, but the 2 units, they have a G.S EFM interface, so one with 2 pair and the other one with 4 pair. In terms of performance, as mentioned, transcoding, you will have to use the 5480s and 5490s. And as you can see, in terms of pricing, so we start with a list price of $500 for the 4 SIP connection 5300, and lifting that up using the zip leg licenses, you can see how the price is increasing, but still we see that the price is quite competitive compared to what the edge water in this case is offering. So just to give you an idea on how this looks like, just one comparison on that side. Good. Then so much about that 5300. At that stage, I would like to take the opportunity to give you a quick outlook on what's coming next in terms of new products. So we're working on a new SNBX appliance, so we call it the hybrid appliance. That means it's going to be a product with IPPBX hardware platform combined with TDM ports, all in one unit, as you can see on the picture. So that's our next product we are about to release during May this year. So stay tuned for that. So we're planning a next webinar giving you some more details on the SNBX hybrid appliance. Okay, so we're coming to an end of this of today's webinar. So as usual, if you require some information about our products, the Voice over IP product line, just visit our website /SmartNode. You will find all the relevant details of the Voice over IP product line. And of course, you will find there as well our contact details in terms of phone numbers, email address. So we're there for you, answering questions. Just reach out to us. Okay, very good. So again, thank you very much for your time, for your attendance. We're looking forward to further working with you, and we're hoping that the 5300 will fit in many customer applications, installations you're going to work on. Okay, Brett, just asking you, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yeah, there's a few questions. Let me just see if I can unmute everybody so I don't have to read all this. How do I do that? Okay. All right. Who has a question?
Okay, maybe let's do it that way. I will just read through the questions we have on the panel here. There I see, let me just check. Right, there we have a question, somebody asking, for the upgrades on 5300, will it be the same than others 5200s? Okay, I see the question is coming for concerning the license, for the zip leg license. So the answer is no, there is a different license. It's called the SNSW-1B. That's the new license for the 5300. So it's not going to be the same software license as for the 5200. So in answering this question. Then we have another question asking about the base model of the 5300. How many SIP calls it's supporting? Yes, it's correct. There are 4 SIP calls on the base model. That means 4 SIP end-to-end connections. So in other words, it's equal to 8 SIP legs. So that means a leg is from point A to the SmartNode 5300, and then from the SmartNode 5300 to point B, that's another leg. So in total, end-to-end SIP connection is 1 SIP session. So it can do 4 SIP sessions. Good. Then we already have a question for the next product I just introduced before, the SNBX hybrid appliance. The question is if it's still dedicated to 3CX. So the answer there is no. We are offering the SNBX appliance with 3CX pre-installed, but also there's going to be an option for this unit to be ordered without any operating system, and we are considering adding more IPPBX solutions in the future. So there's going to be other options basically. But as for now, as the first release during May, it's going to be either 3CX pre-installed or without any operating system, which leaves it up to the installer or up to the customer which IPPBX software they want to go with. Okay, so this is all the questions I see, and thank you very much. Yeah, I just got the feedback that the question is good. The question was answered with that. Okay, good. Then I think we can finish the webinar at that site. Okay.
Yeah, we can send the recording to all of you guys who attended.
Yes, right. The recording we will put on our website anyway, so you'll find it under the usual location on our